In this video, we're going to talk about naming ethers. So let's start with the first example, where we're going to have CH3O CH2CH3. Keep in mind that this is going to be based on the IUPAC nomenclature and not the common naming system. So first thing you want to do here is find the longest chain of hydrocarbons, which is this one. So we're just going to draw that as a bond line structure. So that's what ethane looks like, because we have two carbons. Then we're going to connect the oxygen and the other carbons that are attached to it as a substituent. So this is going to be a substituent. It's going to be OCH3. Now when you have OCH3, that's called methoxy. And here in the longest chain, we have two carbons, which corresponds to ethane. And you don't need to put a number for this, because it's always going to be on number one. If you put it on the other one, you're going to count the other way. So it's going to be methoxyethane for this first example. Next, let's go over how do I name this ether. So we're going to redraw it, and we have the longest chain right here. It's going to be a butane chain. It's going to have 4 carbons. And then we have this we're going to draw as a substituent. So this whole thing has 2 carbons, so it's going to be CH2CH3. Since we have 2 carbons, instead of calling it methoxy, we're going to call it ethoxy. So this is called ethoxy. In the main chain we have 4 carbons, which is butane. And then we need to indicate the position of it on the chain because it's on carbon number 1, this thing. So 1-ethoxy butane. Next, let's talk about this ether. Now, since both sides of the oxygen have the same number of carbons, you can pick whatever side you want to be the main chain. I'm just going to pick the left side, and then I'm going to write the right side as a substituent of it. So this right here is the ethane part. That's the main chain. And then we have an ethoxy connected to the ethane. So it's going to be ethoxyethane. And there should be no space between these two words. Now, how do we name this ether? So first we have to find the longest chain. On the right side we have only 2 carbons, on the left we have 3. So this is going to be the longer chain right here on the left. So the right side doesn't need to be this long. The right side is going to be 2 carbons, so we're going to write CH2CH3 next to the oxygen. What you can see on the left side is that we have 1, 2, 3 carbons, which corresponds to propane. Then we have an ethoxy group on carbon number 2, so that's going to be 2-ethoxy. Propane is the name of this ester, or not ester, ether. Esters are different. So now I'm going to write it as the substituent beginning, since we understand the difference now. So how do we name this molecule? So first of all, you want to count right to left, because you want to give the lowest number, carbon number, to this methyl group. So you can see that we have 5 carbons, so therefore this is going to be a pentane for the parent chain name. We have a methyl on carbon 2, which is going to be 2-methyl. And we have an ethoxy on carbon 3, which is going to be 3-ethoxy. Now when we write these substituents next to one another in the name, which one do we put first? We're going to put ethoxy first because it comes first in the alphabet. E comes before M. So we're going to start 3-ethoxy 2-methyl pentane. How do we name this one? So when we have an alcohol and we have a halogen, which one do we give priority to? We're going to give priority to the alcohol. So instead of counting left to right, where the halogen is going to have the lower number, we're going to count right to left, where the alcohol is going to have the lower number of carbon. So we have, once again, 5 carbons, which is associated with pentane. However, we're going to write pentane, but we're going to write pentanol because we have an OH on position 2. This means it's an alcohol, so instead of writing pentane, we write pentanol. And then the alcohol, or the alcohol group, is on position 2, so we're going to write 2 before the pentanol. In terms of substituents, we have a 4-chloro, and we have a 3-ethoxy. Which one comes first? We're going to write the chloro first because the C comes before E on the alphabet. So 4-chloro, 3-ethoxy dash 2 dash pentanol. Now let's say we have a ring, in this case a cyclohexane ring, attached to an ether. What do we do? So we know that this is called cyclohexane, as I just said. And since we only have one substituent on a ring, we don't need to number it. This is called methoxy, so we're just going to put methoxy cyclohexane. Now, what if we have an ether where we have more than one oxygen on it? What do we do in this case? So once again, you're going to have to find the longest chain, which is in the middle here. Notice we have 2 carbons in the middle, and then we have an oxygen with a CH3 and another oxygen with a CH3. So the main chain name is going to be ethane because you have 2 carbons. In this case, you have actually 2 methoxy groups, and one of them is on position 1 and one of them is on position 2. So you're going to write 1, 2, 1, 2, dash, and then instead of writing methoxy, you're going to write di-methoxy ethane. Now, for our last example, let's do one where we also have 2 ether groups. And we have a fluorine. So we're going to start counting from left to right so that we can give the lowest number to this first ethoxy group right here. And I made a bit of a mistake here. That's how it should be. So that's a carbon right there. This means we have 4 carbons, so that's going to be butane. We have an ethoxy on position 1 and an ethoxy on position 3. So overall, this is going to be 1, 3 di-ethoxy. And then we have a fluorine on position 2, which is 2 fluoro. Now, which one do we write first? Do we write the ethoxy first or the fluorine? You can see that the D comes before F in the alphabet. However, when you want to alphabetize it, you want to ignore the prefixes, so you don't want to include the D. You're going to go based on the E, and E comes before F in the alphabet, so the diethoxy is going to come first. So we're going to start with 1,3 diethoxy 2-fluorobutane. So I hope that was helpful in understanding the naming of ethers within the IUPAC naming system. Thank you for watching.